Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Pokémon Snap. This is the N64 version, mind you, not the new Pokémon Snap for the Nintendo Switch. It's been a while since I did a casual review of this one, and so I was excited to get back to it. Occasionally you just get the urge to play certain games, and it's a plus, especially if these games are shorter, so you can just play for a night or two and wrap up your nostalgic feelings for it. Every time I play this one, I do feel like it feels shorter and shorter. I remember as a child, this game feeling like such a long experience. There were so many secrets to unpack and so many tracks to check out, so many new Pokemon to unlock. By unlock, I mean take pictures of. And it's always a unique experience when you come back to older games from your childhood and just see through the childlike wonder. That doesn't mean that this game isn't any good from an adult perspective, but it just feels a lot more contained and simplified than from what I remember. So the concept of this game is you are going along a predetermined track, and there are Pokemon essentially just living their lives out in the wild. You'll see Pidgey flying around, or a Magikarp hopping out of the water. You might see like a Bulbasaur walking around on the grass. And as these Pokemon are living their lives, you can either choose to interfere with what they're doing or just take pictures of them in their natural habitat. After you run through the track, you then go back to Professor Oak's lab and you choose which picture of each Pokemon you want to show to Professor Oak to get graded on. So you're going to look at all of your different Lapras pictures and choose the best one, the one that you think is the best. Then you show your Lapras picture to Professor Oak, and he's going to grade your picture on a couple things. The first one is the size, like how close is this Pokemon to you? The next thing he'll be grading is the pose, like what is this Pokemon doing? A Pikachu that is just standing there not doing anything isn't going to get as many points as a Pikachu that's eating an apple or surfing on a surfboard. Then if the Pokemon is exactly center in the picture, it will double your points. And so you can see why this is probably the most crucial part of grading your pictures. Professor Oak obviously doesn't have any artistic vision. He does not understand the concept of the rule of thirds, but I suppose that would kind of take away from the concept of this photography video game. He's also going to give you additional points if there's other Pokemon in the scene, and there's a couple other things that he can give you points for as well. But yeah, essentially he's going to add all these points up, and then you will be given a point amount for this one Lapras picture. You cannot accrue points for two different Lapras pictures. If you have a Lapras picture already registered in the photography book, then you could compare them, and he'll ask you which one do you want to end up keeping. You're probably going to want to keep the one that gave you the most points. I do wish that there was an option to kind of set aside other pictures that you've taken. Maybe they weren't worth a lot of points, but maybe they brought a lot of entertainment to you, the player. I can't remember if that's a feature in the new Pokemon Snap game. Now, as you play through the game, you will unlock certain tools in order to influence the environment around you. So, for example, you will unlock two different courses at first, the beach course and the cave course. And initially that's all you have access to, and then Professor Oak will give you an apple. And you can use the apple to feed the creatures, and they'll eat it, and you can get some additional points by doing that. Or maybe you want to just throw it at a Pokemon and be a jerk and watch as they get angry at you. Or sometimes you can kind of manipulate and create pathways with these apples in order to make the Pokemon interact with certain objects they otherwise wouldn't have. But in this cave course, you can throw an apple at an Electrode. He then will explode this cave blockade and thus will unlock the third course. And so occasionally you will have to manipulate these courses in order to unlock new courses. Sometimes courses are just given to you just by beating the previous course. It all just kind of depends. You also will eventually unlock a Pester Ball. So if you didn't feel the satisfaction of being a jerk enough by throwing apples at Pokemon, you can throw these Pester Balls at Pokemon, and certain Pokemon will react differently at these Pester Balls. There's you'll unlock a Pokemon Flute, and this sometimes Pokemon will like dance along to the music when you're playing the flute or interact in interesting ways in that regard. And so it can feel very overwhelming if you're trying to do everything in one run. But this game is all about replayability, because maybe you want to focus on the left side with with one run through or the right side for another one. The courses themselves actually aren't that long. I want to say each course takes maybe between 2 to 5 minutes, probably not even 5 minutes, but these courses felt so much longer as a child, but as I'm playing through them as an adult, they feel so short, and that makes them very replayable. Let's say you just missed that perfect photo of that one Pokemon, it really isn't that big of a deal to go back to that course and try it over again. You eventually will unlock a turbo tool that will allow you to zoom through the course at a faster rate as well. And so it's just fun kind of taking your time, not feeling stressed out about doing everything in one run, seeing how certain Pokemon interact with certain tools that you've unlocked, and then submitting those photos to get graded by Professor Oak. So as someone who has played this game many times, I do know how to unlock everything. I do know how to take pictures of every single Pokemon that is available in the game. There are 63 different Pokemon, and I can take pictures of all 63 Pokemon in under 2 hours at this point. If I was looking at this through fresh eyes, I will admit some of this stuff can be fairly obtuse and difficult to see. There are aspects of this game where I wonder, how would anybody know how to do that without looking it up? And then I try to wonder, wait, how did I know how to do that without looking anything up? And I think it just comes from replaying and word of mouth on the playground. I think people would be really upset if they spent money on a full priced game and it took them under 2 hours. And so I think the mystique of it all and the mystery of it all kind of added that gameplay time, that replayability. Once you've unlocked 6 of the courses, in order to unlock the 7th one, you have to go back to all 6 of the different courses and you have to find these inanimate objects that are kind of shaped to look like Pokemon. And so that adds an entirely new puzzle element, like where are these mysterious inanimate Pokemon signs? Some of them are just there, others you have to activate by a series of events. And so I could see this game being rather frustrating for a newcomer just because there are some aspects in order to 100% complete this that do feel fairly obtuse in this day and age. But the good news is, in this day and age, you also have access to the internet, so it's not too big of a deal to look some of these things up if you want to. I'm very nostalgic about the polygonal Nintendo 64 graphics, and I love seeing Pokemon in their natural habits with this visual appearance. The music itself is also very nostalgic to me. I love the mellow, chill soundtrack. I do like how they add flute to a lot of the sounds, and they add like soft little drum beats. It's a very cozy soundtrack. It really is just one of those perfect games to come back to get my nostalgia fix without having to invest a ton of time into it. I can dedicate a single night to this, and it's shorter than most movies. And I do love that after, when you're running the credits, it shows you all of the pictures that you took, and it feels like you had a real impact and influence in the game. It's certainly not perfect. It is difficult to aim, especially if you're using a worn N64 controller. There are aspects that might feel pretty frustrating, like trying to aim where you launch your items or trying to get Pokemon to do certain things. I mean, it's not a perfect game, but it definitely is a wonderful game. That's why I think I'm going to give this game a 4 out of 5. I can't remember what I gave it the first time I did a casual review of this. I want to say it was also a 4 out of 5, but I really can't remember. Well, folks, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Pokemon Snap, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Jigglypuff,